The Galaxy S25 Ultra is here at SamMobile, and this is our full hands-on. Welcome back to SamMobile TV. You're here with Daniel, and we are going to do our full hands-on with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. First things first, before we do any sort of comparisons or side-by-side, let's just appreciate the design that Samsung have got here. They have cultivated a very pretty phone, one that has a lot of nice visual aesthetic cues, and one that seems to have been designed with the intention of marrying it up with the software, One UI 7. The rounded corners, the rounded camera rings, everything has a bit of a purpose about it, and I'm here for it. I really like what Samsung have done. Now, in terms of what they've done compared to what they have done before, there is some changes to talk about. Especially when you look at them next to each other, there might be, I guess, a look at this and thinking, oh, well, they're very similar. It's almost the same phone. No, because this is a very different design philosophy. The squared off corners, the rounded frame, that is a very industrial, boxy, note style approach. Going to this, Samsung is kind of bringing back the S series heritage, the rounded corners. And I know there was usually curved displays, but I think that's gone now. We can forget about those as a concept. We now have this new rounded sort of approach in terms of the subtly softer curves along the edges. I do like the difference in terms of in-hand feel. I did like this too. And I think I liked this because it was unique. It was definitely like looking at Samsung's branding and saying this is Samsung. A lot of people didn't like the sharp corners here. Again, I was neither here nor there about it just because there's a fleshy part of your hand here and that's where it sits. But this rounded frame made it a little bit wider to hold in the hand. Whereas what they've changed is they've gone with the round corners and the flat frame, meaning it's actually going to be narrower this way. And this part will be a bit softer in your palm for people that wanted that. It's a new approach, at least, or it's revisiting the S series approach and identity that Samsung had before. I don't necessarily dislike it. I like how it feels though, because Samsung have drastically reduced the weight, made it thinner this way and narrower this way. So we have much thinner across here. I think it's like 8.2 mil. We have a narrower phone this way, not just because of the fact that the sides are flat, but also the bezels are thinner, and I'll get to that. And the phone is just lighter. It's about 218 grams, which is substantially lighter in the hand when you have the two sort of in each hand compared with each other. Definitely feels lighter. And picking it up, it's like, whoa, that's impressive that they've been able to keep all the internals powerful and make this thing really light and comfortable. As I said, part of the reason why it's narrower this way is not just because of the fact that the sides are flatter, although that is a substantial part. It's because the bezels are thinner. So if we go in and take a look at the bezels on both the S24 Ultra and the S25 Ultra next to each other, you will see that the bezels have been shrunk. And top as well, it's pretty much uniformed as it was last year. Look, bezels are bezels. If you were to show both of these phones to someone from 10 years ago, you would have no issues with this whole aesthetic for either of them. But people's obsession with bezel shrinking means that it still goes down again. What the bezel shrinking has done though, is allow Samsung to fit a bigger display inside a smaller package, because it's back to the 6.9 inches that we had before with the S20 Ultra versus the 6.8 that they've been using. And as I said, it's a shorter phone, marginally. Like there is not much in it at the top here, and it's narrower. So you're holding less phone, but with more screen, which is always a nice thing. Inside those bezels is a display that I would say is better than last year, but you'd have to really go hunting to find it better. Most of the time, it's just going to be a subtle shade of color here or there. The display settings that I have set up at the moment is virtually the same on both. It's the screen mode, although I do like to have it a bit cooler. But realistically, you go into like the gallery to look at sort of videos and photos, and you're going to really struggle to see much differences in sort of the color profile. They both still look very, very good. One thing that has improved though, and I guess it's not really a display feature, but I'll chuck it in here because it's part of the entertainment thing, is the speakers. They are massively improved on the S25 Ultra. Let's take a listen. So let's play first from the S24 Ultra. Samsung have dropped the third beta for One UI 7, and we have it here on this S24 Ultra, and on this one is beta 2. Let's compare the differences. Welcome back. Okay, so that was the S24 Ultra. Let's play the S25. Samsung have dropped the third beta for One UI 7, and we have it here on this S24 Ultra, and on this one is beta 2. Let's compare the differences. Welcome back to SamMobile TV. Immediately, I notice a improvement in that sound, and I've just looked at the bottom of the phone. The speaker slot is actually a little bit bigger. So it's almost as if Samsung have made the chamber for the speaker bigger internally, so you can actually push and hear more sound. It's richer, it's deeper, and definitely, I think, adds to the entertainment experience a lot. Before we head into the cameras, the camera design has changed. You can see on the back here that Samsung have adopted the camera rings from the Fold 6, although not as garish. They are a little bit more subtle around the edges there, which is a nice change from the kind of plain looking S24 Ultra. I wouldn't say they were very minimal and there was nothing really to stand out about it. One thing though that is different is that on the back of the cameras, the S25 Ultra, they're kind of raised off the back and there's almost like a gap underneath. And then on the S24 Ultra, that's not there. So that's just a bit of a subtle design change. That could be down to the fact that the phone's thinner, but I don't know why you just don't block it out. But anyway, it gives the appearance that they're floating more than what they ever were before. In terms of those cameras, they're all pretty much the same bar one. The much rumored 50 megapixel ultra wide is here, but it's not just a resolution bump. It's also got a better aperture. It's f1.9 versus f2.2. Now, in theory, that's going to improve low light performance, but it's not just theory, it's also in execution as well. When we go and compare the two side by side, especially in lower light, there is a lot less noise on the S25 Ultra, as you can see from the photos I've chucked up here. And it's just all around a better sort of visual aesthetic. It's more detailed and it's better to look at, especially when you start to sort of zoom in on it. This 50 megapixel camera can also do 8K. So it's not just about high resolution in photos. Samsung have enabled it in 8K resolution. So when we go into the camera's 8K settings, you will see ultra wide now has 8K, 1X has 8K, and so does 5X. Now you still can't switch between them. So if I hit record, I can't go to the 1X whilst I'm recording. However, Samsung have put in this new software slider, which used to be in Pro Video mode only, but now there's a little toggle for it here and allows you to slowly sort of toggle your way through zoom and so do it a bit more cinematically. In normal video, it will cycle through the zoom range. So I can actually change cameras as I'm sort of zooming in and then slowly sort of zoom out. It's a nice little touch, and I like that Samsung have sort of thought to put it in there. The rest of the hardware here is the same. In terms of their output differences, I am going to do a camera comparison between these two more in detail as I get more time with it. So make sure you hit subscribe for that. The bigger difference though is the software that the camera runs. Samsung have not just redesigned the UI, and obviously it's based off One UI 7, but they've added in software features that I don't think this is going to be able to do. A lot of it's centered around video. The first one being, or the main one being rather, is that this can now record in log. A lot of creators talk about log being the flat profile of video that they can then adjust in settings later. Well, now we can do it on the Samsung side. So when you go into advanced video options and into log, you'll see you could do it in Pro Video mode only or video and Pro Video modes. So there's an option for both. Just leave it in both because when you go into the camera, there is a toggle to turn log on there. Now, what is log? Log is basically just like a flat profile that captures more information. So when you go into editing later, you can actually sort of adjust the settings to tweak to your own sort of style. So this is log here. So as you can see, it's a very flat, almost gray washed out video. And then you can put this into your editing software and fix it yourself. The beauty of it is though, is the Samsung have actually given you the option to do it in the gallery. You swipe up, hit correct color, and you'll see that the color magically changes. Samsung has their own color profile that they're adding over the top of it. You obviously can tweak it yourself in editing programs. And then you can hit the save and it'll save a copy of that. And the 8 Elite for Galaxy just sort of does its processing and saves it into your gallery. You can see the difference when you sort of swipe between the two. So if I go here, there's log normal and there's color corrected log. You can see the difference in the sky and the clouds. Everything's got a bit more color to it, a bit more life. In terms of the size of log, it isn't much bigger. The reason why it's not much bigger is because it's being filmed in the high efficiency video codec. And that's the only way you can use it. Samsung have not allowed you to use it in the normal codec because it probably will take up too much space, and Samsung are a bit conscious of that. So you can see as soon as I switch out of that to H.264, all of those toggles turn off. So the high efficiency video codec is there and only works in log. I think it's fine. I think Samsung being conscious of your storage space is a good thing. And I think for the majority of people who want to use it on their phone, this will service them nicely. That's not the only software sort of tweak that Samsung have made in single take, which is my favorite camera mode. You now have the option to pre-record 5 seconds through a little toggle. So when you activate single take, it'll pre-record and then store that. And then you can hit the shutter button. And there's also an extra shutter button in here, which you can capture your own stills within the single take context. Love that. It's great if you think you know better, which sometimes you do. You can add your frames to the ones that single take capture, and it gives you that option. Really like it. The other thing that's kind of similar to that, I guess, is best face. So best face works with motion photo. So you need to take photos with motion photo to activate this, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So if I, for example, look at this photo of my son and his birthday cake, he's a Manchester City fan. You can see it says view motion photo. When I swipe up, there'll be an option here to choose best face. And what it will do is it will sort of scrub through the motion photo footage and give me some options that what could be done better. And if you're not happy with any of those, you can hit view more and sort of scrub through the footage and it will isolate the face. And then you choose the one you want and it puts it over the top. It doesn't just work with one face too. Like if you've got multiple people in a photo, you can swipe up and you can hit choose best face. You can see some of them aren't looking at the camera, which is fine. They're kids. And then you can tap on each individual person. So my daughter's got a couple of different faces there. That one's nice. Everyone's smiling, but they're not all looking at the camera, and they might not ever look at the camera, but you can sort of swap them out and save a copy of it. And that's your best face. Well, I've obviously seen it before, but it's a nice option to have. There's some other sort of smaller tweaks, like in Expert RAW, you're going to be able to now shoot in 200 megapixel. There's an option there for that. And there's a thing in the labs menu of Expert RAW called virtual aperture, which will allow you to create f-stops virtually from f1.4 all the way up to f16. So that's new in Expert RAW. We haven't had a chance to fully test them out yet. I'm sure once they come fully fledged, we'll show you a bit more about it. But realistically, that's the main sort of camera stuff. There's not much more than that, but stay tuned for our full camera comparison where we can look at the main differences here. In terms of One UI, a lot of people expected this to be running One UI 7.1, but it's actually not the case. It is going to be running out of the box One UI 7.0, which I think is fine. I don't think there's much of an issue there to be had. I think a lot of people need to maybe calm down because effectively this still has a lot of extra features. I do have another video going live simultaneously to this one where I look at all of the One UI 7.0 differences to One UI beta. So you can go check that out. Headlines is that Galaxy AI has got a couple of new features. You have audio eraser. which is excellent. Effectively, it will eliminate noise in videos, up to 6 different styles of noise. So go check that out because I'll look at this in detail. There's also something called a now brief, which appears in either the lock screen or in a little widget card. And when you click on it, it'll actually sort of show you a bit of a briefing of your day. But it's not just the morning. This is the content that it can include. So it'll go through health and wellness. So if you've done activities that day, it'll show up later in the day, a summary of your activities, for example. So you can go and tick all these off, and it looks pretty cool. And it's a nice little touch to sort of, you can check in throughout your day. I like it. Oh, animations are good. Whilst we're here, let's check the animations, shall we? Because I know a lot of you care about that. Both of them are running One UI 7. This is beta 3. This is obviously final version. It's very hard to tell with the naked eye. I would really say that there's not much of a difference. There's maybe a little bit more bounce in the final version of One UI 7, which a lot of people tend to like, but it's not drastically different. It might improve because Samsung have got a bigger ceiling of performance thanks to the 8 Elite for Galaxy, which is being used widely across the board. A big thing that this 8 Elite for Galaxy has enabled is, one, there's a lot more stuff with Galaxy AI that can be processed on device. So if I go into this here and, for example, Chat Assist, Composer, for example, can be processed on device, whereas usually it gets sent to the cloud. So you can actually toggle that on to be done device-based instead of cloud-based. Things like Audio Eraser, device-based. There's absolutely no need for this to go to the cloud. It's all done on the phone because the 8 Elite for Galaxy has a massive ceiling of neural performance, not just CPU and GPU. But that CPU and GPU ceiling has also drastically improved. My test for that is video rendering. A lot of people might do benchmarks. A lot of people might do gaming. I'm not a big mobile gamer. If it's something you want to see, by all means, let me know and I'll try and figure out a way to do it. But this is the way I get work done. So let's take a bit of a look. I've got the same videos loaded into the timeline here, same length of time, shot on the same phone in 4K 30. So if I go into the export here, movie, media, same export settings. In fact, this one's probably going to be a little bit chuggier because it's 30 versus 29.97, whatever. If I hit export and I hit export, what you're going to see from this is how much faster the 8 Elite for Galaxy processes and renders this video. Starts off quite close, but then as you can see, the 8 Elite for Galaxy literally just flies ahead and continues picking up lead, while the 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, as fast as I thought this was, doesn't come anywhere near it. This is so impressive for me to see. I absolutely love how much faster this is, and I truly can see a lot of people, particularly with the log video recording and this paired together, this being a performance beast. Very excited to see what people can do with it. Bang, it's finished. 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy is still going along here, and it might be a little bit longer before it finishes. I'm very excited that Samsung and this chip are going to give this performance, because I can imagine with things like Samsung DeX, this being a truly transformative performance inclusion. Outside of the 8 Elite for Galaxy though, there is an improved vapor chamber. I would say that the bigger vapor chamber on here, whilst it's bigger, will probably likely give a similar cooling performance, just because the raw power of the 8 Elite for Galaxy will run warmer anyway, so it might end up balancing out, but that's something that I'll be testing, I guess, as I use the phone more. The rest of the hardware is very similar. Same 5,000 mAh battery, same 45-watt fast charging, similar RAM offerings. So internally, there's still a lot of the same components, but they've put it into a slimmer and lighter package. You might be asking, what have they sacrificed to allow for that? And unfortunately, there is one. The S Pen, still there. Still going to pop it out, so don't stress. But there is a change. The gestures and the remote functionality that the S24 Ultra S Pen is capable of is no more. Samsung have decided to move it away and head back to just a standard normal pen. So if I hold down the button here, nothing's going to work. It's a shame because I think a lot of people really liked having that. And even if you didn't use it often, and that's probably what Samsung have based it on, is usage data, having it there once in a while, there'll be that time. So it's a bit sad. The S Pen still functions the same elsewhere because it doesn't require battery to operate. The reason why this worked is because it had a little charger, a little capacity of battery in here, which meant it could sort of charge up for those Bluetooth functions. Whereas without needing the charger in the phone, then you don't need the capacity battery and the whole thing could be slimmer and lighter. That's our hands-on with the S25 Ultra. Let me know in the comments what you think about the phone. Got other videos talking about all the colors of the S25 series, our normal S25 hands-on. So make sure you go check out those. Hit subscribe to SamMobile TV. Lots more coverage of the S25 series to come. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.